I have a question for you, and I want you to be, brutally honest with yourself for a second. Who are you becoming?
That is a big question to start the day with.
It is. But I'm not asking who you want to be in 5 years. I'm not asking about your vision board or your New Year's resolutions. I'm asking, based on exactly what you did today, the actions you took, the thoughts you entertained, who are you becoming right now? Are you becoming a lazy person, a productive person,
Yeah.
or are you just drifting?
That distinction is really the core of what we're exploring today. It's about the trajectory, not the goal.
Exactly. It's where your feet are actually taking you.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking a presentation called Habits Changes by Sophie Thor.
Right.
And look, I know what you're thinking. Habits. We've heard it. Eat your broccoli, go to the gym, wake up at 5 a.m. We know the drill.
It feels like a topic that's been covered a million times, right? A
Yeah.
very saturated market.
But this source, it hit me differently. Thor isn't just giving us a laundry list or telling us to hustle harder. He's framing habit formation as a metamorphosis. He's talking about the actual mechanics of how you transform from one type of species, metaphorically speaking, into another. It's less about productivity and so much more about identity.
He really does. He moves away from that abstract just do it advice, and he breaks it down to three really solid pillars: consistency, discipline, and transformation.
Right.
His whole argument is that we are all in a cocoon, whether we realize it or not. And the question is, are you building the muscles to break out as a butterfly, or are you just getting comfortable staying a worm?
Staying a worm.
Oh.
Wow. That is an image that sticks. It's uncomfortable, but it's effective.
Very.
So let's get into the mechanics, because the problem Thor outlines at the start is one I think every single person listening, and definitely myself, struggles with.
Yeah.
It's that battle between doing the thing that matters and the doom scroll.
The modern paralysis, it's everywhere.
So how does he define the problem? We all know scrolling is bad, but he breaks down why it's so hard to quit. Well, he starts with the definition of a habit itself. He calls it a small action repeated every day. And that keyword there is small.
Okay.
This is where he introduces what I call the sneaky factor. He points out that these actions, checking TikTok, eating junk food, they seem completely unimportant in the moment. And that's the trap.
Right. If I spend 30 minutes on Instagram today, my career doesn't implode, I don't lose my house, nothing bad happens immediately.
Exactly. It feels neutral. It feels safe. But Thor's insight is that because it feels unimportant, your guard is down. So you repeat it. And that repetition is where the compounding happens.
So they're not just, ways to kill time.
Not at all. He says they are active construction projects. You are literally building a version of yourself that is addicted to distraction.
That's terrifying. It's not just wasting time, it's practicing being a distracted person.
Precisely. And he sets up a very stark dichotomy here. There is no middle ground in his framework. It's either positive habits or negative habits.
And he gets pretty specific. So let's look at the positive ones first. It's not just be better.
No, he's very focused on knowledge acquisition, on communication. He uses the example of learning English, specifically to communicate with professors or friends. But what I found interesting was his emphasis on tools.
Yes. He explicitly mentions using technology.
He brings up using ChatGPT or other tech to find speaking partners.
Yeah.
He's not saying lock yourself in a room with a dusty textbook. He's saying use modern tools to build the positive habit.
Which is such a modern take. He recognizes technology can be the latter. But then there's the other side, the negative habits. And reading this part of the source felt like a personal attack.
It can be a little uncomfortable, yeah.
He calls out things that pull you down, specifically spending all your time on Facebook or TikTok, watching unimportant videos, and this one is huge, consuming negative or fake information.
That last point is crucial. He says these negative habits, they stress out yourself every day.
See, that's counterintuitive, though. We usually scroll to relax, to disconnect. But he's saying the act of scrolling is actually increasing our baseline stress.
Yes, because you are feeding your brain junk data. Fake information, negative news, comparison traps. It's like cognitive pollution. You think you're recharging, but you're just draining the battery faster.
So if we're just drifting through our day, doing a little work, a little scrolling, how do we know which path we're on? How do we stop the drift?
Thor suggests a mechanism that's deceptively simple. The audit.
The audit.
He calls it reflection. He says you have to actually stop, look at the action you just took, and ask a really simple binary question. Is it good or bad?
That sounds too simple. I mean, is it good or bad? Life is nuanced. We like to justify things.
But is it really that nuanced? Or do we just tell ourselves that to justify the bad habits.
Right.
I think Thor's point is that deep down if that hour on YouTube moved you towards the butterfly or kept you as the worm, the responsibility's on you.
Okay, so we have to audit ourselves. Let's say we do that and we realize, wow, I'm spending 80% of my free time in worm mode. How do we shift? This brings us to the 3 pillars.
This is the how-to, this is the framework,
Pillar number 1, consistency.
the engine of change.
Now, define consistency in Thor's world, because
Yeah.
I think people confuse consistency with intensity. They think they need to go hard every single day.
That's a great distinction. For Thor, consistency is showing up every day even when progress feels slow. And that last part, even when progress feels slow, that's the most important part of the whole sentence.
Because that's the valley of disappointment, right? You start a new habit, and on day 3, you look in the mirror and you look exactly the same. You still stumble.
And that is where most people quit. They want the outcome, not the process. But Thor talks about the 0 to 100 mindset. He says you have to remember, you don't start at the 100, you start at 0. And emotionally, we hate being at 0. We hate being beginners.
It's embarrassing. Nobody wants to look like they don't know what they're doing.
Exactly. But he offers a really tactical solution to get through that. He calls it the 15 minutes rule.
Just 15 minutes.
That's it. He uses his English learning example again. He claims if you practice speaking for just 15 minutes a day, within a year, your confidence will be completely unrecognizable.
Why only 15 minutes, though? Why not an hour? Shouldn't we do more?
Because you can always talk yourself out of an hour. An hour is a commitment. It requires energy. But 15 minutes, you have 15 minutes. You spend more time than that deciding what to watch on Netflix. It just removes the excuse.
It lowers the bar so low you can't trip over it.
Exactly. But you have to do it every day. That's the catch. And he shares a really vulnerable story here to illustrate it. He wasn't born a public speaker.
No, this part was surprisingly touching. He talks about being so scared. He mentions the feeling of eyes on him. He says something like, I see a lot of eye looking at me, so I'm so scared I don't want to talk. He just wanted to be invisible.
That's a primal fear, the fear of being judged. But how did he fix it? Not with a magic pill. He says step by step. He just learned to share incrementally.
So he went from hiding in the back of the room to creating presentations on transformation. I mean, that is the definition of the worm to butterfly arc.
And it proves his point. Consistency isn't about being brilliant today. It's about just being there today.
Okay, so consistency is the engine, but an engine needs a steering wheel because my phone is right there buzzing, even if I want to do my 15 minutes. That brings us to pillar 2, discipline.
Discipline is the choice. Thor defines it very clearly. It is choosing what matters most over what feels good now.
What matters most versus what feels good now. That is the eternal battle, isn't it? The cookies versus the abs.
It is. It's delayed gratification versus instant dopamine. And he doesn't speak in generalities here. He goes right for the throat. The smartphone.
He really targets the phone as the enemy of discipline.
Oh, he does. He talks about the necessity of just turning the phone off. He suggests strict limits like cut Facebook scrolling to 30 minutes. He treats it like a dietary restriction.
But here's what I liked. He doesn't just say, stop doing the bad thing. Because a vacuum is hard to maintain. If I just sit there not scrolling, I'm going to go crazy. I need something to fill that void.
Right, you need a replacement behavior. He
Yeah.
says swap the screen for a book, quit the video app and read a book for 10 minutes, or do meditation.
I want to double click on the reading part because read more books is advice we've all heard. But Thor has a very specific, almost survivalist reason why we should read. It's not just for entertainment.
No, it's functional.
Yeah.
He sees reading as a shortcut to wisdom. He says we should read because writers share their personal experiences, their solutions to tough situations. He frames it as a defense mechanism.
He uses that phrase, prevent yourself from the bad thing that is going to happen.
Yes. Think about that. He's saying life is full of potholes and traps. You can either fall into them yourself and learn the hard way, or you can read a book where someone else already fell in, and you can learn from their pain without the scars.
That is such a high leverage way to look at reading. It's borrowing hindsight. It's like having a cheat sheet for life.
Exactly. And he pairs this with meditation, which he frames as emotional regulation, a tool to stop stressing yourself out when problems inevitably come up.
So discipline, in his view, isn't about punishment. It's about protecting your future self.
That's it. He says discipline reinforces you to become a better person. It's structural support.
Okay, so we've got consistency, the daily grind, and discipline, the hard choices. Now we get to the payoff. Pillar 3, transformation.
The result. And this is where we return to that central metaphor, the worm and the butterfly.
So break this down. Is it just a cute image, or is he saying something deeper about change?
Oh, it's deeper. He's saying that true habit change is about your state of being. The worm is where we start, shy, unskilled, feeling ordinary. The butterfly is the result of those small habits compounding over time.
It's the idea that quantity produces quality. If you do the 15 minutes of English enough times, you don't just know more English, you become a fluent speaker. It's an identity shift.
Correct. He says reading, learning, and practicing daily transforms an ordinary student into a confident leader. But, and this is maybe the most critical part of the whole thing, he warns us about a trap that stops the transformation cold,
What's the trap?
the fear of the mistake.
Ah, perfectionism.
Exactly. If you're trying to transform, if you're a worm building wings, you are going to look awkward. You are going to mess up. And Thor's philosophy here is just so liberating. He says you should make mistakes.
He actually says should, not just that it's okay, but that it's required.
Yes. He argues they are part of your learning journey. He specifically says not to worry about errors during a presentation. He says something like, mistakes happen to everyone. It happened for reasons.
It happens for reasons, so the mistake is functional. It serves a purpose.
Well, think about it. If you never make a mistake, it means you aren't pushing your boundaries. You're staying in the safe zone. And if you stay in the safe zone, you stay a worm.
So the mistake is the evidence that you're stretching. It's like feeling the burn in the gym. If you don't feel it, you're not growing.
It's just data. He's reframing failure completely. It's not a sign that you are broken. It's a sign that you are learning.
Honestly, that changes everything. Because the fear of looking stupid is the #1 reason people don't do the 15 minutes. They don't want to sound like a toddler speaking a new language.
It paralyzes them. But Thor is saying, do the toddler. Be the awkward beginner. That is the only path to the butterfly. You cannot skip that stage.
So let's bring this down to the ground. We have a listener right now who's motivated. They want to be a butterfly. What's the actual tactical action plan? How do they start today?
Thor is very explicit. Start small. Do not try to overhaul your life in one day. Don't try to read a whole book tonight.
So what's the target? What's the minimum dose?
He says read 2 or 3 pages.
Yep.
That's it. Or do your 15 minutes of practice. But there is a second step that turns the action into a habit, the reflection loop.
Right, the audit.
But specifically with reading, he says to pick up positive words or sentences that apply to you. It's not enough to just pass your eyes over the page. You have to extract the value. You have to engage with the habit.
It's like eating. It's not just about putting food in your mouth. You have to actually digest it.
Perfect analogy. You read the 2 pages, you find one sentence that matters, you apply it. Then you rinse and repeat.
And that brings us back to that triple threat recap.
Consistency keeps you doing it, even if it's slow. And he promises you'll never regret it. Discipline pushes you to choose what matters, and transformation is just the inevitable result of the first 2.
Change your habits and change your futures. That's the promise he leaves us with.
It is, and it's empowering because it puts the future squarely in your hands. It removes talent and luck from the equation. It just boils down to, can you do the boring thing for 15 minutes today?
It really demystifies success, doesn't it? We look at successful people and think they have some magic spark. But Thor is saying, no, they just did the small stuff for a very long time.
They accepted the slow progress, they put down the phone, they read the 2 pages. That's the only real difference.
And they were willing to make mistakes along the way.
That's the big one. They realized the mistake was the path, not the roadblock.
So if we look at this whole picture, it starts with believing in yourself. That seems to be the foundation.
Yes. He says you have to believe in yourself first. Without that, the discipline feels pointless. Why suffer through it if you don't believe the butterfly is waiting at the end?
Then we move to those small actions, the 15 minutes. We say no to the easy dopamine. We embrace the awkwardness. And eventually, we stop being the worm.
We break the cocoon. And the view is much better from up there.
I love that. It makes the whole doom scrolling thing seem so much less appealing when you realize it's literally the glue keeping you stuck in the cocoon.
It is the anchor keeping you on the ground.
All right, so here is the challenge for everyone listening. We don't want you to just nod along and say, that was a nice deep dive, and then immediately open Instagram.
Please don't do that. Break the cycle. Prove Thor right.
We want you to find your 15 minutes. Maybe it's a language, a professional skill. Maybe it's just reading a book instead of a feed.
Just 2 pages. Start there. It sounds so insignificant, but it is everything.
Exactly. But before we go, I want to leave you with a thought based on what you just said about mistakes being the fuel. This really stuck with me.
The provocative part.
It is. If mistakes are actually necessary, if they are the things that teach you how to fly, then my question to you is this. What mistake are you avoiding today that is actually keeping you a worm? What are you not doing because you're afraid you might do it wrong?
That's the question. Go make some mistakes.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.